No Americans are ready for Formula One. That's a narrative that we have heard time and time again, and it is often questioned whether or not that is true. And I know for a fact that it is not true. Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi are both drivers that are capable of racing in Formula One. But they both found success and seem to be pretty comfortable racing in IndyCar. So it is very unlikely that we would ever see them transition to Formula One. However, there are plenty of young drivers that look like they could be on a path that leads them to Formula One and have the talent to take them there. And today we're going to take a look at some of those drivers. So first up, we have Logan Sargeant. Logan is 19 years old and is currently racing in the FIA Formula 3 Series, or the International Formula 3 Series, which is right below Formula 2. He's leading the points as of now before Barcelona. His career highlights include third place in the 2017 British F4, runner-up in the UAE F4 in 2016-17, Formula Renault Euro Cup in fourth place, and third place in the Macau GP last year, capping off his first year in FIA Formula 3. So there is no question as to whether or not Logan is a quick driver. His career shows that he is and that he can win races. He won the first race of the weekend at Silverstone in 2020 this year and is currently on pole for Barcelona. I'm recording the audio right before that race. So he is definitely a possibility. The issue I have with Logan is he is not part of any driver academy that I know of. He is racing for Prema, which has its Ferrari connections, but as of now is not linked to any driver academy, and it's historically harder to get into F1 if you don't have links to Ferrari, Mercedes, or Red Bull. So I think what is next for Logan is moving up to Formula 2. It looks like he is going to be finishing in the top 3 in Formula 3, and I think he's definitely got what it takes to move up to Formula 2 next year, possibly fill one of the Prema seats that could be vacated by Schwartzman or Schumacher. And that is really where he'll have to prove himself as a driver that has the caliber to go to F1. A lot of drivers are really quick in F3, but then struggle when they get to Formula 2. And it's important to see whether Logan will struggle or whether he will continue to be as competitive. So next year, I think Logan will move to Formula 2 and try and compete there. Probably spend 2 years there, as most drivers have to. And that'll really be a test as to whether he is Formula 1 caliber. Next up, we have Cameron Doss. Now, Cameron Doss is 20 years old. He is also racing in FIA F3 with Carlin. He has definitely struggled this season. He has had some bad luck, and he has yet to score a point. However, his career history does show that he is a quick driver and he can win races. In 2016, he won the first ever season of the Formula 4 US Championship. He then moved to Europe, racing in the BRDC F3 Championship, where he scored a race win, and the Euro Formula Open. 2018, he also raced in Euro Formula Open along with the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand. 2019 again was Euro Formula Open and another run in TRS, where he did win a race. Cameron definitely has had a rough year. I think next year he will stay in F3, and that'll be a year where he really has to be consistently finishing, in the top 10 on the podium, and that'll really, tell whether or not he's got what it takes to move to Formula 1, to move to Formula 2. But out of Sargeant and Das, Sargeant is definitely the more qualified as of now, although Das has historically been better his second year in a championship, as most drivers are, and he is a rookie to F3. So I think next year, another run in F3 where it'll really be make or break whether or not he can compete for top 5s, top 10s, and podiums. And then from there, he can move up to Formula 2. Next up, we have probably the most promising and most exciting young American driver still racing in America, Kyle Kirkwood. Now, as you can probably see by the repeated use of the word champion, Kyle Kirkwood is an amazing driver. He is probably the most talented young American that hasn't reached IndyCar in America yet. He was slated to run this year in Indy Lights, although the Indy Lights season was canceled due to a lack of drivers being able to participate due to the current issues in the world. Leading up to his supposed run in Indy Lights, he was the 2016 Team USA Scholarship winner. Then he also ran in the F4 US Championship, where he finished third. That was the year Cameron Doss won the championship. But then he came back and dominated the championship in 2017 and took the win. I believe he had 8 victories in a row, something along those lines. 2018, he won both the F3 Americas Championship, although that was, you can't look at that the same way because there were a very few number of drivers racing in that series. 2018, he also won the USF 2000 Championship. Last year in 2019, he won the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, which is what gave him the scholarship to move up to Indy Lights. He also made a one-off appearance at Monza in the Euro Formula Open, where while he didn't perform as well as he has in America, that was partly due to the fact that he was going with a inexperienced team, and he got significantly quicker through the weekend. And given another couple days, probably could have challenged for a top 5. As you can see here, he's tested Formula E with BMW. Kirkwood is by far one of the most promising and exciting young talents in the U.S. He's 21 years old, and this year, to fill in for the gap that the Indy Lights cancellation left, he's racing in the IMSA Prototype Challenge in the LMP3 category. Kirkwood, this is a long shot. I think his current trajectory is going to take him to IndyCar. I think that is very likely. I think next year it will be a battle, but I think he definitely has a chance to win the Indy Lights Championship and get a ride in IndyCar. And that would most likely lead to a ride with a decent team, as he has shown that he is a blazingly quick driver. Possibly move to Andretti or an Andretti affiliate team. McLaren, as they've looked like they are scouting up young drivers. But yeah, Kirkwood, I doubt his path will take him to F1, although I think he definitely has the talent to be racing in F3 this year if he had the budget and if he was, on a path that really led to F1. However, I think it is much more realistic that we'll see him in IndyCar in the next 2 years. Alrighty, next up we have Braden Eves. Braden is also 21 years old, just like Kirkwood, and he is been one step behind Kyle. He is currently racing in the Indy Pro 2000 category with Exclusive Autosport. Leading up to this championship, he raced a couple races in the 2017 F4 US Championship where he didn't finish outside the top 5, including a race win. He was a 2018 Team USA scholarship driver, and then raced 2018. He made a one-off appearance in USF 2000 and F1600, where he won a race, along with another F4 US Championship race. 2019 was the first full championship Braden ran in cars, where he won the USF 2000 championship. in a tight battle with Hunter McElroy, leading up in the final race of the year at Laguna Seca. Just like Kirkwood, I think Braden is on a path to IndyCar, and I think a very realistic path to IndyCar, but I don't see him moving to Formula One and moving to that ladder system unless he was picked up by a driver academy. I just don't see that happening for Braden or Kirkwood or the last driver that we'll see on this list. I think the first two were the most likely to go to F1, especially Logan Sargeant, the first one. But Braden Eves is a extremely quick driver, and I think he'll definitely make a run at IndyCar. And I think that's very realistic to see him in IndyCar in the next couple years. Okay, the final driver on this list, also the youngest driver on this list, is David Malukas. Now, David Malukas is 18 years old, so he is the youngest driver on this list. He's currently racing in the FR Americas Championship after the Indy Lights Championship was canceled. That's where he was slated to run this year. And he is second in points behind Linus Lundqvist, who has dominated the championship. He has won every race so far. But David's career leading up to this has been interesting. He hasn't just raced in the U.S., He, in 2017, raced in USF 2000 and German F4, or ADAC F4, along with the F4 UAE Winter Series. 2018, Pro Mazda. It was Pro Mazda at the time, where he finished fourth in the championship with wins at Road America and Portland. Last year, he raced in Indy Lights, and it was definitely a big jump up from where he was. He was in a really talented field with Oliver Askew and Pato O'Ward. He still managed to get multiple podium finishes, but was not quite on the pace to be a title contender. This year, I think he was definitely would have been a title contender if the championship had not been canceled. So, yeah. Next year, I think he'll go back to Indy Lights. I don't see him staying in FR Americas. That was basically, I think, just, because Indy Lights was canceled. But I think he will move back to Indy Lights, which will be a really tough championship, as you're going to have Kyle Kirkwood, most likely Linus Lundqvist from winning the FR Americas scholarship. Whoever wins the Indy Pro 2000 scholarship, plus other drivers that decide to move up. So Indy Lights will be very tough next year. However, I think Malukas will do well, as he does have prior experience in the Lights car. And yeah, he, just like Kirkwood and Eves, I don't think he's really on a path to Formula One anymore. He seemed to find his home in the U.S. racing ladder system. They rode to Indy. So yeah, I think IndyCar is very realistic for David. He's still only 18 years old. He's got plenty of time. So yeah, I think IndyCar is the path for David. But all 5 of the drivers I've listed, including the 2 racing in Europe and the 3 racing here in the United States, have the talent to move up to Formula One. Obviously, with some years in the lower formulas to, develop the speed they need. But I think they definitely have the pace, and that's what's important. So, thanks for tuning in. This has been a fun little video. I haven't been able to really make a vlog, so I thought this would be fun to fill everyone in on, some of this, the U.S. drivers, because I think it is wrong when people say there aren't U.S. drivers ready for Formula One. There are, you have Colton Herta, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, plus all these young, talented drivers who will probably be making a run at the professional ranks. So I just wanted to do a little informative video to say that U.S. drivers can move to Formula One, and anyone who says they can't is very wrong.